Hi friends, in this video we are going to see the preamble of Indian Constitution. What is preamble? It is something like the index of in the Indian Constitution. So first we will see the what is preamble. Actually, it is not a universal practice. That means not all the countries' constitution having preamble in their constitutions. We are actually borrowed this preamble from USA. USA is the first country to adapt preamble in their constitution, and also USA is the first written constitution. So Indian constitution is a written constitution. So we are actually inspired by USA in this case. That is, most of the countries will not have preamble, only limited countries having preamble. So India is the one of the country, and we are inspired from USA. And this preamble is actually the objective resolution of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru speech in the first Constitutional Assembly meeting now December 9 1946. That objective revolution is taken as the preamble of Indian Constitution. So we are going to see that in detail. So a preamble is the introductory statement. Otherwise, you can say it is the index of the Constitution, Indian Constitution. That is what we are going to really deal with in Indian Constitution. What we are really going to deal with, and what we are going to try from the Constitution. So it is giving some glimpse about the Indian Constitution, the preamble. So it has a significant importance. So you can say that what is the Indian Constitution is going to lays down the ideals it attempt to promote through the Constitution. So it is giving the introduction about the Indian Constitution. So it has some objectives also, and it is originally borrowed from USA. So the Constitution of Indian Republic Constitution of the Republic came into effect from, that is, we know that is 26th January 1950, but actually it is summoned. That is why I told you December 9 1946, in the Constitution Assembly the Constitution was initially summoned. That time only the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has given the objective resolution. That objective resolution is taken as the preamble of Indian Constitution, and the Constitution was finally adopted for 26 November 1914. That means completely the Constitution is completely ready on the particular day, that is 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26th January 1950. So this is all about the Constitution and about the preamble. Okay, so now we will see the original preamble and later how it has been modified. So what is the original preamble? That is in the left hand side. That is, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, that means social, economic and political justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, and equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all then fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity of the nation. In our constituent assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adapt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution. This is what the original preamble is, something like the front page of the Constitution book, you can say, right? So this is the starting. It gives the actual idea what the Constitution of India is going to trying to achieve through the Constitution. Okay, so in the modified, that is in the 1976, in the 42nd Amendment Act, the that is preamble has been altered, or you can say it is amendmented. So from this you can understand preamble is amendable. It can be altered, but you can only add the sentence or words. You cannot remove or delete anything from the preamble. That is the thing you have to understand. You cannot delete or you cannot remove anything from the preamble. Only you can add, that is without actually disturbing or changing the fundamental structure of the preamble. You can add anything, right? So after that is 1976, in the 42nd Amendment Act, there are two words or three words are actually added. That is, with sovereign democratic republic, two words are added. That is socialist and secular. That is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic. So these are the five things comes under the part 1. So this is what the part 1. And second part is justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. In that, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity. That integrity is the term. Another term was added in the 1976 amendment. So three words are added, that is socialist and secular in the first part. In the second part, integrity was added. Okay, the third part is we solemnly we give this constitution to ourselves. That is the representative of the people is created this constitution, so it is given to the people itself. So that's what we are saying from the constitution. So we given this constitution to ourselves in the day, that is 26th day of November 1949, and we are going to adapt this, enact, and giving to ourselves. So this is what the preamble says. So the first part is the ideal. The ideals are sovereign, democratic, socialist, republic, and secular. That is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic. So these are the ideals. So this is the base of the Indian Constitution, right? Then second part, which has justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. So this is what the aspirations, this is we are going to achieve based on the ideals. We are going to achieve these things. So we are going to aspire to achieve these things: justice, liberty, equality, fraternity in our state. So third part is we are going to give this constitution to ourselves, the people, they are giving to ourselves. So this is what the preamble. Next we are going to see the purpose of having the preamble. So it has two purpose, it serves two purpose. That is, first one is it indicates the source from which the constitution derives its authority. As I told you, it has some ideals, it has some aspirations. So the constitution should have this as the, what you can say, the model, something based on this model we are going to write each and every article in the constitution. So it is the source authority, source of authority. So our constitution, each and every article should not deviate from these ideals and aspirations. So we have to make sure. Okay, so that's what I'm saying now. The Jawaharlal Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru objective resolution, what is the real objective of this Constitution Assembly? The Constitution Assembly, it is going to make the constitution, it has some objective. So that objective is now is given as the preamble. So the constitution should follow the preamble, it should not deviate from the preamble. All the article should justify or it should support the preamble, or we can get some clarification. If any article which is confusing or not able to understand, means we can get actually the real interpretation from the preamble. we can get some clarity from the preamble. So this is what the first point, and it also states the objective which constitution seeks to establish and promote. So what the constitution really seeks to establish and promote to the people. So these are the two purposes the preamble having. So, next, the preamble seeks to establish what Mahatma Gandhi described as the India of my dreams, an India in which poorest shall feel that it is their country, in whose making they have an effective voice, an India in which all communities shall live a perfect harmony. There can be no room in such a way India for the curse of untouchability or the curse of intoxicating drinks and drugs. Woman will always enjoy the same right as man. So this is the dream of Mahatma Gandhi. So preamble seeks to establish this dream through the constitution, right? So we are going to see the first part, that is the ideals of Indian constitution. That is, India has been declared as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic country or state. So we will see one by one what is sovereign. India is a sovereign state. The word sovereign means it's supreme, independent. That means we are the member of United Nations, Commonwealth, SARC and so many global bodies and different associations we are member. That means that we don't have any the own thought. We are just to work as a group. We will follow the what the group decides. That's not the thing. India is an independent country and it is a supreme country, even though it is the member of United Nations, Commonwealth countries, but it has its own voice. It's need not to follow always the association of these global bodies decides. If it don't like to be the member of the particular global associations, they can come out of it. India can come out of it, and it can give its own voice. It's need not to blindly agree what the association or global bodies decides. Suppose some resolution is taken in UN nations, means we can, if you like, we can support it. If you don't like the resolution, we can vote against that resolution. We need not to simply follow that. That means we are independent. We need not to we should not be influenced by any external sources. So that means sovereign has two things. One is internally and externally. Externally free means any other foreign country or foreign like USA or China or Russia, they cannot control us. They cannot interfere in our what you can say, the internal affairs of the country, or how we have to behave, how we have to react, how we have to deal with each and everything, how we have to maintain the relationship with other country. They cannot influence or force us. That is, we are externally sovereign in this case, externally free from control of any other country. Internally sovereign, what is meant by internally sovereign? If we are an independent country, means we are internally sovereign. What is the meaning? India is an independent country, so what is internally? We are not actually influenced by any religious community or any terrorist community. India is not influenced, or you can no power centers. There is only one power center, that is the rule of state. There is no other power centers. That is, there will not be any religious or anti-national or anti-social powers or influence the decisions made by the country. That is the thing. So we are internally also sovereign, because we are just elected by the people, and the country has been governed by the law. Okay, it is not governed by any other internal antisocial or religious communities. So we are internally sovereign as well as externally sovereign. Next, socialist state. Whether India is socialist state? Of course, India is socialist state. Not, yeah. There are two socialist. We can say that one is communist based socialist, that is communist form, and another one is Indian socialism. One is communist socialism, another one is Indian socialism. We are not having communist socialism, but we are having Indian socialism, that is Indian form of socialism, that is Mahatma Gandhi form of socialism or democratic socialism, right? So it, the word socialist actually added in the 42nd Amendment in 1976. So it is implies that social economic equality, that should not discriminate any people. These socially they should be equal, that is we should not discriminate any people in the form of caste, color, creed, sex, religion, language. Then in government opportunities also, government opportunities, that is even in jobs also they should have equal opportunities. And government should ensure that it's a welfare state. That is what that Indian form of socialism, welfare state. Socialism means all are equal or something, but welfare state means we are taking care of people. All the people get everything what they needed. That is what the welfare state. Communist based socialism means all are equal, there is no rich or poor something, all are equal something. But here rich and poor are there in country, but whether the rich poor getting the basic needs, whether the poor getting the basic needs or not, that's what we are ensuring in our country. That is what the welfare state. Next, secular state. This is the one word which is recent times, which is really frequently used nowadays, that is secular. What is the secular state? This is also added in the 42nd Amendment Act. So there are two types of secularism. One is Western type, another one is Indian type. In the Western type secularism, there is a separation between the political state and religious. That is, political state means it's only deals with public affairs. That is, in religious state means only it's a private matter. Religion is a private matter. So the country or the state will not interfere any religious matter. That means the state does not having any religion, it does not support any religion. This is what the Western version. So Indian version means Indian state does not have any religion, but even though it promotes all the religion, it supports all the religion, it is not against, or it does not mean it will not involve any religion. In Western version means it will not involve in any religion, but in Indian version the state will involve in a religion, but equally in all the religion. It promotes, you can say, supports all the religion. This is what the treat equal. So in the Western version we can say that it's a negative point of view, that we will not support any religion. Here we will support all the religion. This is the positive form. Indian version is a positive form. We support all the religion, we treat everyone as equal. So this is what the secular state, all the religions are equal. That is Indian version. So there will not be any partiality between the religions. So there is no religious instruction imparted in government and government aided schools. Next, democratic state. So democratic means there are two types of democracy. One is representative democracy, like we have in India. Another one is direct democracy. So whether it is a representative democracy or direct democracy, there is one thing is followed, that is, when it is democracy, country means, that is universal adult suffrage. That means one man one vote. That is from vote we are going to select the who is going to be the authority, that is for the central, state, local bodies. So through the vote we are going to select, not just what you can say, represented by any like you can say, uh, those days kings, they will just represent any people. They will not, they the so for the king there are ministers will be there, so their ministers are not selected by the people. The king itself, he can select anyone as the minister, he can give any role, like the commander, or you can say some the ministerials. They can give any ministry will be given to any person, or any minister will be selected from any community. But here the ministers or the MPs or MLAs, even the local corporation, the municipal, everywhere there is election is going on. Even in the panchayat we have the election, so everyone is selected by the universal adult uh, suffrage. So this is what democracy. But what is this representative democracy and direct democracy? Representative democracy means the people will not directly vote who is going to be the what you can say, the prime minister or president. They will not vote, they will represent, or they will vote some a person in a region, they will represent instead of the people. And the direct democracy nowadays only exists in Switzerland. That means even if they want to pass a law, each and everything, they have to go to the people. There are two types, one is a referendum, another one is plebiscite. A plebiscite means it is seeking people opinion for territorial regarding matters. Then referendum means for any issue. For example, if they want to pass any they want to take a decision whether they want to join in any common association, global body, any global body, they want to, whether the country want to become a global body, means it will go to the people, it will seek the opinion of the people every time. It is possible for the small country. If the population of the country is very small, means we can go for direct democracy. Otherwise country like India, 120 crore people are there, it is not possible for every each and every law. If you want to pass any a single law in a parliament, if we are going for a people opinion, means it is not possible. We cannot conduct the election every time even to pass the law. And but in the small country, small population country, it is possible. So that is the thing. So this is, every citizen enjoys the right without any discrimination of the basis of caste, greed, color, sex, religion, because everyone having that vote, one man one vote, every person, nobody is denied by the caste, greed, color, sex, religion, or education. But in older days the people are denied by the caste, greed, color, sex, religion. The people don't have the voting power. But nowadays we have everyone having that power of vote, so we can make the change. So this is what democratic. The last one is the ideals is republic. So here republic means who is the head of the state. This is the only thing you have to differentiate with democratic and republic. Generally people confuse with democratic and republic. Democratic means the vote. Okay, the people are having the power of vote. So if there is a voting system, is there is democracy. If the persons or people, the state people or central people or local bodies are elected by the voting, means there is a democracy. Whether it's a representative democracy or direct democracy, doesn't matter. But if there is a voting system, means for the selection, there is a democracy. But republic means even though there is a voting system, even though there is a republic, democratic, like Britain, it's a democratic country because the prime minister was there selected by the voting method. That is a democracy. But that is not a republic country. Why? Because the highest power. Who is the head of the country? The queen, the monarchy, right? But in India, who is the head of the country, head of the state? President. He is not just came from his father's, or his son cannot become a next president like that. So it is indirectly elected by the people for the fixed tenure. So president can be for head of the state can be for 5 years. He can be only for 5 years. He is not till his death. After his death, his what you can say, hereditary, nothing will come. So this is what the difference between democracy and republic. The country can be democratic, but it is not republic. Like you can say, take what you can say, Australia, New Zealand. There also democracy exist, but those countries not republic. They are still dominic. That is the thing. So still the queen is the head of the state. So this is the difference you have to understand. So republic means the head of the state is elected by the people for the fixed tenure. Okay. Then opposite for the republic is monarchy. Okay. Next, the second part of the preamble, that is justice. As we seen in the first slide itself, we are trying to achieve three justice. Everyone, the people has to get three justice: social justice, economic justice, and political justice. So this is what we are really going to try to achieve through the constitution. Next, liberty. So there are four liberty, that is liberty of thought, liberty of expression, liberty of belief and faith, and liberty of worship. So we can express our thought, we can believe and have a faith on any religion. So these are the different liberties we are going to give it to the people of country, right, through the constitution. Next, equality. So equality means equality. Here the constitution trying to say equality of status and opportunities. So everyone should have the same status. It is ensures, the constitution of India ensures equality of status for all. That is, it is trying to achieve this equality through the article 15. That means the state will not discriminate against any citizen on grounds of religion, caste, race, etc. Then equality of opportunities, that is through the article 16, the constitution provides equality of opportunity to all the citizens. That is in the employment, government employments, it will not discriminate any person from the government employment or appointment based on the same grounds: religion, caste, race, then place, etc. So this is what the equality of status and opportunities. Next, fraternity. It is something like friendship, that is without any religious or linguistic or regional, provincial, racism, casteism. We need to be a what you can say, brothers and sisters. So this is what the fraternity. So promote fraternity among the people of India, so that they rise above the narrow feelings, that is a communalism, then linguism, regionalism, provincialism. These are some narrow feelings. So every individual, the constitution trying to assure the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So these are the second part. Now we are going to see the significance of preamble. The preamble of Indian constitution reflects the basic structure. As I told you in the beginning of this video, it is giving the structure or the ideals or what the constitution really trying to achieve. So it is giving the real idea of the constitution. The preamble is giving the real idea of the constitution. So it is used for the interpretation tool. It is used as interpretation tool. Even if the judicial people having some confusion or doubt in any article, they can clarify that doubt with the help of preamble. So it is used as an interpretation tool. Then preamble acts as a preface for the constitution, that is acts a real preface for the constitution, and lays down the fundamental value and philosophical ideas. That's I already told you, the same meaning, that what really the constitution tried to achieve, that is written in this preamble. So now the biggest controversial thing is whether the preamble is a part of the constitution. This confusion has been clarified through two cases, that is Berubari Union case. In the particular case, the Supreme Court was clearly told that it is never been regarded as a source of any substantive power conferred on the government or any departments. So in that particular case, the Supreme Court judgment was preamble is not a part of the constitution. But after some time, there was another case, Keshwananda Bharati case. The Supreme Court attached much importance to the preamble, not like the previous Berubari Union case. In that case, it does not have any part in the constitution. It was given like that. It does not have the source of any substantive power, and it is not a part of the constitution like that. In the Berubari Union case, the court was given the judgment. The Supreme Court was given the judgment. But the Keshwananda Bharati, in that particular case, the Supreme Court taken this preamble more serious. That means the constitution, the preamble is the part of the constitution. That is the one outcome of this particular judgment. The another one is preamble is not a source of power or source of limitations or prohibitions. That is a clear thing. It is not a source of power or source of limitation or prohibition, and it has a significant role to play in the interpretation of the status and also the interpretation of provisions of the constitution. This is important thing. As I told you, these many slides, in all the slides I was repeatedly telling, the preamble have the significant role to play in the interpretation of the status and interpretation of the provisions in the constitution. So it is giving, it is used for the clarity of the articles. To get a clarity about the articles, it is used. Then again in the LIC case, LIC of India case 1995, the Supreme Court again held the preamble is the integral part of the constitution. That is, we cannot separate this. We cannot just say it is not a part of the, it's an integral part of the constitution. So it is still, it is not a source of power or source of limitation or prohibition, but it's amendable. The preamble is amendable. That is why the three words are added in the preamble of Constitution 1976, the 42nd Amendment Act. So I hope you like this video. Please like and share this video, and make your valuable comments, and do subscribe our channel. Thank you very much.